Welcome, Chris Evans Radio. We are back with little Dave. And originally we were going to do a Q&A off my Instagram, but my very first question was so good, I told him, I was like, let's just make the entire topic of this show about being young in the bodybuilding world and what would we do, or I guess we could obviously pose it as if you and I were to take a client on, and I'll lay out this guy's specific situation for everyone, what we would do to make him an absolute freak, because that's what he wants. So let's paint the picture here. He's 19, body fat, if I had to guess, 8.5 to 10, somewhere in there. He didn't send me any lower body photos, but I mean, his lower back was striated, full abs. He's just small.
Yeah.
And his thing was, what do I do? Like, where do I start? Where do I go? He said, should I purposely eat to the point where I drop my body fat up by, to 20%? And, you and I joked before I hit record of, if you're lean, like obviously it's not gonna be a big deal if you gain some body fat, but
Mhm.
taking your body fat as a dude intentionally to 20 is idiotic.
Yeah. It's one of those things where you get like, you can do it. And
Yes.
yeah, sure, your diet will going to be way more fun. Like,
Yeah.
cool, you could have you want 3 meals 4 times a week? Fantastic. However, once you get to a point where, you have enough body fat on you, your body starts doing that things backwards. You convert more test to estrogen that goes both natural and enhanced,
Right.
right? And then also your nutrition partitioning sucks.
Yes.
You eat 50 grams of carbs and not all of it makes it into your muscles just because insulin sensitivity goes in the toilet. It just makes it so you get fatter.
Yeah. And I don't know how you feel. Anytime I've taken my body fat up above really 12, 13%, I didn't see any additional strength gain off of it. I actually felt my performance was worse in the gym. Like
Mhm.
it
Yeah.
it it
Well,
did
I
nothing for me.
I think the biggest aspect of that is like powerlifters. I mean, in the '90s, powerlifters all got fucking there was 30% body fat.
Yep.
What's different in their training? Where are they're training in the 1 to 5 range,
Yep.
right? We're training in the 6 to 30.
Mhm. Yep.
So different energy systems for one,
Yep.
and if your lungs can't handle that and your lungs are failing before your muscle, you're not going to grow because your lungs hit failure,
Yep.
but your muscle didn't.
Right.
So if you're trying to grow that muscle, be like, oh, I trained the failure. I was like, you just ran out of gas. You
Yep.
know, your body doesn't need to replace that or build more muscle tissue because you ran out of gas.
Yep.
That's like, would you change your engine if your car ran out of gas? You would just put more gas in it.
Yeah. Something else I think about too is when you're taking your body fat and conditioning that much out of shape, the time you have to take between work sets becomes too long, and then your gym sessions turn into 3 hours, right? Like,
Mhm.
imagine you and I doing, I don't know, the John Meadows Bulgarian split squat of death. If it takes us 6.5 minutes to go right leg to left leg, I'm bored. I've already lost my attention. My brain has drifted somewhere else. Like,
Yeah,
and I think we've all seen people in the gym who do that. They'll like do a set of squats and then they'll take a couple laps around the gym. They'll go take a piss. They'll re-roll their knee wraps. They'll put their knee wraps on. They'll find the right song. They'll cinch their belt in. They'll do some weird like lift ritual. And at this point, it's 8.5 minutes after their last set. Like, in my mind, you're no longer bodybuilding. That is legit powerlifting. Um,
yeah. And I mean,
and
to a degree, you're just kind of just dinking around.
yes, agreed.
Like that metabolic work is a huge aspect of training.
Yeah,
And just foregoing that because you're like, well, I got my reps in,
right.
but the exercise density instead of being here, what it was programmed for, is here. So that density is gone.
Yeah,
Cool. Can you do more work? Yeah, because you're not doing it in a short time frame. Like
yeah,
anything that requires a lot of effort, you can't do a lot of.
yes.
So like, cool. If you want to spend 4 hours in the gym, yeah, take your fucking time. But like, realize you're also missing out on a huge aspect of bodybuilding.
Which is rest and recovery.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, to address and put that baby to bed of body fat percentage, I know people are big on percentages and shit. Like, I don't know if I think anyone knows what a truth, let's say 12.5% body fat looks like. I can just tell you this is what I always say. Can you still see your abs? Do your arms and legs get vascular at any point of the day? As a bodybuilder, that's what we need to keep. I'm sorry. And if someone wants to argue that with me, I will fight that to thy death. And I would love to see your training if you don't have vascularity through your appendages as an adult male, and what your nutrition looks like. Because 9 times out of 10, it's fucking garbage.
Yeah.
And they say, "Oh, Chris, I'm watery." What are you watery from? Your fucking cheat meals, or the mismanagement of supplements? Like, come on, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it's either one of those, like,
yeah.
or, you know, like, obviously, like, stress can play a huge role in there, but
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. Like, if you're eating good, clean, healthy food, like, if you give an adult male who's, you know, above 150 pounds, 2,500 calories a day and have him work out, and you do that for a year,
Right.
you come back to him and, you know, he's going to be under 15% body fat.
Correct. Yep.
You know, of meat and rice, not 2,500 calories of Cinnabon and fucking McDonald's.
I've always said this, and I will get pushback. I've never seen someone get fat off meat and rice. I just haven't.
Yeah.
Now, if you're eating fried rice and bullshit, but if you're making steamed white jasmine fill in the blank rice and you're eating it with lean meat sources, I've yet to see someone get fat off of it. And train hard. If you're just sitting around not doing shit, maybe. But I just haven't, man. And anytime someone says, "Well, that's what my coach had me do," how many cheat meals are you having? Were you measuring it? Were you putting oil on it? Like, what were you getting chicken thighs? Like, think about things logically. I have to believe in my heart you were skipping cardio, you weren't training hard, something was happening.
Yeah.
And
just the fact that the lack of training hard is the thing. Like, we can laugh about this. We went to that gym in California, Metroflex, and we are sweating our asses off.
Yeah.
And there's people in that gym also working out. You know, they're moving weights around. And what, you know, just paying attention to other people in the thing. Like, we're both just like dripping sweat, and other people are completely fucking dry.
Right. Yeah.
And
we were in there
that gym does not have AC. It was 90 fucking degrees in there.
And we didn't have you and I both had a singular t-shirt on. It wasn't like I was in there with a fucking hood on. Like a t-shirt, start to finish. And by the end, I needed to change it. It was just by the end, shit. Through exercise 3, I needed to change it, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it's also funny too, like, neither of us can hold a conversation when we're trading.
No.
Like, we have enough in us to be like, what's next? Right? Let's go there. We aren't talking about anything else other than like, okay, cool, that shoulder press I like more than that shoulder press.
Yep.
But we're breathing so hard, we're not carrying on a total conversation. I'm not sitting down and asking you what we're going to be having for, you know, like my what the game plan is going to be. Like, the game plan is what is the next exercise and how I'm going to accomplish that.
He goes like this. You want another plate?
Yeah. And like, obviously we're not checking Instagram or scrolling on TikTok.
Right. Yeah. A lot of times the conversation was pin to hole and go. Yeah. Or like a point and a grunt. Yeah. Good. Yeah. I know that's hard for some people to understand. Again, you and I don't view the gym as a place to socialize, which I know some people view that as an outlet for interaction with other humans. I've never viewed that in session that way, before and after, all day long. If I'm in a prep before, it's not the time to talk to me about that because I'm usually so locked in on what I have to get accomplished. Post lift, I'm in a great spot. I have a huge fucking pump. I look freaky. I'll talk to you all day about what my diet looks like and how prep's going. But yeah, I can't imagine putting 10 plates on a leg press and then someone asking me a question about metabolic damage and then trying to go do a set, for example. Yeah. I'm not in that headspace. And I don't want to be, because I'm in that headspace for work from the time I wake up to the time I go to sleep. And maybe other people don't view training as like an outlet for that or personal time, but I've always thought about it as like, I was like my practice for football, man. Like we didn't have conversations during football practice. Our ears were on or we were playing because we were
Yep.
getting coached. Like, or we were conditioning or we were lifting weights and you didn't fuck around. Like,
Yep.
again, I know not everyone comes from that background, or works out in a gym that is conducive to that behavior, because I know that most people model their behavior after what's going on around them. But listen, I believe in my heart we could put you and I in a Planet Fitness and we could get a good arm workout.
Yep. Oh, easily.
We would have to be quiet and not yell and scream and not probably yell at each other. But at the end of the day, if we said, "Hey, Chris, like we both need an arm pump. This is the only gym available within 100 miles," we would go in there and get that shit done. And again, to me, like yes, environment's cool, but at the end of the day, there's a mission to be accomplished, and we could do that shit with probably a pair of 20-pound dumbbells in my basement if I had to.
Yep. Yeah, PVC pipe and some bands, I'd fucking figure it out.
We could probably do a towel session and get a huge damn fucking arm pump.
Yeah, not a joke.
Yeah. But okay, so to rein in on the topic here, let's start with training because you and I like that the most. Let's start with frequency. Would you do any more than 4 sessions a week?
No.
I wouldn't even.
If possible, I would actually I'd probably be in the gym 6 days a week,
Okay.
but 4 actual training sessions and then 2, I mean, if best case scenario,
Okay.
and then 2 days of active like stretching.
Oh yeah.
So like just making sure your hips and lower back are happy.
Yes.
So that you can continue, because where he's in that case, he's new, he's young, he's not, he needs to grow.
Yes.
Heavy compound movements is going to be his friend.
Yes. Agreed.
So if he's squatting or deadlifting, once or twice a week, he needs to be doing the shit on the other side of the coin to make sure he can squat and deadlift.
Yes.
And stay healthy.
Correct. Yes.
And like that's not going to be like physically taxing at all. Just like, I just don't like, I do that personally because I don't like stretching in my house because like I have ADHD and I'll sit down and then something will come up and I'll end up just like fucking cleaning. And I'm like, well, I'm not stretching. I'm doing something else, but like,
Yeah. I mean, I know when you're young and you're hungry to gain muscle, and you and I've had this conversation before, like you want to lift all the weights and you want to do all the machines and you want to just learn and get your hands on weights, right? In that scenario, the most I would train is 2 on, 1 off. So you do 2 days and you have to take an off day. So then that would technically put you in like a 6-day rotation, so to speak. So it give you a little bit more training frequency. But the problem is where people that are young and eager, and I remember being there because when I worked in the gym at the beginning, I worked in the gym 7 days a week. So I'm like, oh, I had a client cancel. Let's go do some calves and abs. And the next thing you know, it's like calves, abs, and forearms. And the next thing you know, it's like calves, abs, traps, and forearms. And I'm like, this might as well be a fucking training day. Like,
yep.
And again, that's just out of pure excitement and passion. And you want to get bigger and you're tired of the way you look and you want to improve. And it's like, sadly, so many people on the internet feed that delusion of more is better with training and higher frequency and higher training frequency models and high volume. And I just don't believe at that beginning phase that you need to be in the gym that much, because God, I remember those beginning years of really bodybuilding. I would get sore for a week. When we trained legs, my legs would be fucked for a week. Or technically 6 days. I'd have a little bit of reprieve and then we train them again.
Yeah. Dude, that's how, I mean, people freak out about that a little bit, but like, I feel like if you're going to have legs in bodybuilding, there is not going to be a period of time where your legs are going to be not sore.
Yeah.
Like the time as soon as they are like feeling decent, you're training legs again.
Right.
Yep. They're not 100% recovered. They're probably 90% recovered.
Yeah. Right.
But like, we all like, there's no way, it's just how that works. It's like, that's part of the game.
Yeah.
And but I mean, I could go down that rabbit hole for a while, but it's just one of those things. It's like like the leg days, the hard shit is what grows your legs.
Yep.
Right. I can't tell you how many people I've seen stack the leg extension.
Right.
And their legs are this big around.
Yep.
And I talk about this all the time. It's like you can definitely do leg extensions. Like, it's a great exercise,
Yep.
but 4 sets of leg extensions is not a leg day.
No, agreed.
You know, and it's like one of those things. It's where like people will find all the machines and cable exercises, like possibly like a hammer strength press,
Yep.
but they haven't picked up a dumbbell or a barbell in months,
Right.
and they wonder why they're not growing.
Yeah. I'll tell you something funny. So, obviously, I come from a football background. Our extent of lower body training was we did front squats, back squats, and dumbbell walking lunges. Okay.
Yeah.
Those are the mainstays of our. We also did like weighted box stuff, other things, but in the core three, right? Front squat, back squat, walking lunges. And when I got into bodybuilding, I already had a good foundation of strength on all three of those exercises. Like they felt good, they were smooth. Like I didn't have to learn how to do that skill. I already had it. And I remember thinking to myself, like the first time I ever leg pressed, I hated it. I was like, this sucks. Like in my defense, that leg press isn't a good leg press. I did not know that because it's the only leg press I'd ever been on. But I was like, I remember getting pissed off at it and thinking, I can squat double what my buddy is, but he can leg press double what I do. And it was so frustrating. He put on like 6, 7 plates, and I'm like 3, maybe 4 on a good day. And to like get good range of motion, it felt like my back was going to blow off. Like it just didn't feel good. Where I could bottom out a squat, sit down on my hamstrings, and not think twice about it with 3 plates at that point.
Yeah.
So I remember being like, God, we get to leg press and hack squat, and I'd be so pathetic at it. We get to leg extensions, and I'm like, man, nothing had ever made my quads cramp like that. So if you think about back to my old leg days, we would do leg extensions to like kind of warm up and get fluffy. Then we would squat, leg press, hack squat, lunge, and then it was 2 to 3 hamstring exercises. Usually lying leg curls, seated leg curls, RDL. So that was such a long time. Like it was like 2.5 hours of just what I would consider. We just didn't know any better, right? Because we would go plate quarter jumps on squats, you do plate jumps on a leg press. Like we just didn't know any better. And I would be so fucked up from that. Like, as you said, by the time the next Thursday or whenever we trained them that week got around, they were still kind of like beat up. So again, trial by fire learning. I would not program that much volume on a leg day for anyone. But I mean, when I started bodybuilding, that was the only body part I had. So I love training it. That and calves.
Yeah.
I love training those because I could fucking feel them.
Yeah.
So, all right. So let's break this guy a split down because you could obviously do a bunch of different things. You could rotate, push, pull legs. You could do the mountain dog split, which is back, then chest and shoulders, then legs, then arms. You could do a true bro split, right? Where it's like back and biceps, chest and triceps, shoulders, legs, and then arms. And that's 5 days. So obviously you have to do a 5th day if you chose that option. Or do the 2-1 1-off rotation. But any other splits that you could think of that would be remotely feasible for that demographic?
I mean, you can always do an upper lower split, but like,
People always ask me about that. Have you ever done one of those?
yeah, when I was in wrestling, that's what they had us do.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And like, if I could go back to that, honestly, it'd be other than like time wise, it might be a little bit inconclusive to what happens because like,
Right.
but like, it was honestly like, it's not the same thing because you have 2 upper sessions, you have 2 lower sessions,
Yes. Yep.
right? And your second lower session is not the same as your first one.
Yes.
Right, if that makes sense. So it's not like you're doing heavy hacks and like it's more like, all right, so one day you're doing squats and leg press, the other one you're doing like an RDL
Right.
and hack,
Yes.
right, on your lower. And then your upper days, it's like front and back.
Yes. Exactly.
So it's basically like
Push pull.
yeah, but at the same time, it's just like a little bit. Well, it's on off, like 2 days on, 1 days off, or whatever. However you choose to do that,
Yep.
But in all reality, that gets boring for some people really fast.
And what I always find too is that creates an environment that is hard to begin to feel muscle tissue because as soon as you start feeling it, you move one to another one, right?
Yeah,
You're like, oh man, I'm really connecting with my lats. Okay, cool. Now on the rear delts or side
Yeah.
delts, or just shoulders in general. A cool split that I did when I first did bodybuilding ever, it was push pull legs, but your fourth session was whatever you started with that week. So like week one, you hit pull twice, and it was like you just repeated week workout one. So it was like pull, push, legs, pull. Next week, well, you hit push twice. The following week, you hit the legs twice. Like, so it was on a
Oh yeah,
rotation. Every 3 weeks, you hit the body part twice, and that was actually pretty fun. And it
yeah,
forced me to learn how to train and do bodybuilding essentially. I never really liked the push days because it was just so fucking long.
yeah.
So I mean now the way you and I would train push is a little bit better because we don't do shoulder pressing. Well, you do. I don't do shoulder pressing that much at all, if ever. So it's like it's a little bit more easy to manage that. But even to me, like I like chest and shoulders paired or like chest and triceps paired, but all three of those are a touch too much, I think, for a session.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, those are all the rotations or splits you do. And honestly, I know people always say, what's the best? There is the one that's best is the one you love or would attack, right? Like there's no right answer. The only one I will say that I fucking hate is if anyone pairs anything with legs, they need to be punched in the mouth.
Oh, I
Like
know.
the amount of times people say, oh, train shoulders and legs together. What the fuck?
Oh, I know. I laugh at that all the time because it's like I almost want to take those people and run them through a leg day, like how I would do it.
Yes. Yep.
You're like, hey, you ready to go train some biceps?
Yeah.
They'll just flip me off. They won't even have it. They won't even be able to speak.
Right. Yes. I have one person right now that has shoulders and legs on the same day, and she has 3 leg exercises, and that is literally it. 3 exercises all week. It's a leg curl, an adductor, and a quad exercise of choice, and then we do 2 shoulders and leave. One out of I don't even know how many people I work with, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
A good bit. Let's just put it that way. So yeah, so training split there. All right, so volume. I know you and I have talked about this multiple times. If you're in the beginning phases of bodybuilding, I think you and I both agree you needed what I would consider a moderate to moderate high amount of volume. And that's so you can learn how to properly train a body part and get enough time on it to where you can get a pump and feel it. And unlike you and I think you could put us on a hammer strength piece, a set of dumbbells in our hands for chest, for example, and we could get pumped and be like, man, I'm pumped. Where that was not the case 10, 20 years ago for me.
Oh, agreed. Yeah, volume comes down as the same time as your experience goes up.
Correct. Yes.
Because the better you get an exercise, the less you have to do of it.
Right. Yep.
And that's where a lot of people really get effed up is because they're still trying to do 40 sets for legs.
Yes.
And all they end up doing is saving shit for later.
Correct.
They're like, oh, I'm gonna hold back here because I have squats next. Oh, I'm gonna hold back here because I have hack squats next.
Yep.
Oh, I'm gonna hold back here. And the whole workout looks like that. And it's like, why'd you do all of that?
Agreed.
Like, why didn't you just like go all out on one set?
Mhm.
And instead of doing, 4 different, squat variations. Pick one, do it right.
That's the best advice. If anyone takes away from this whole podcast, that's right. Correct. Like once you get experience, if you get to the point of a session where you're like, I'm gonna hold back on this to save for that. Just cut the last thing and just do this one right, as you said.
Yeah.
Like,
I can't even tell you how many times like me and Zach will train arms.
Mhm.
And we're like, all right, we're not doing that next bicep exercise. We're just gonna do one set here because like if he's training with me, we're getting like 5 force reps on like a preacher curl.
Yep.
And it's like you get done, you have such a fucking pump, you can't even feel your hands.
Correct.
You're like, we do not need to do another one.
Nope. That literally happened to me on Sunday. So
yeah,
I hit triceps, huge pump. I get to biceps. I do a top set and a back off of easy bar cable curls. My arms felt like they were going to explode. Then I was like, okay, next in rotation, I was doing single arm machine preacher curls for sets of 12. And then immediately walking over dumbbell rack and doing cross-body hammer curls.
Yeah.
I did 2 rounds of that, and I literally went on the calves. Yeah. So 4 total sets of biceps. And I was like, they can't get any more pumped. They were so fucked. My hands were like this. And like, it was stupid. If anyone would have been there training with me, they're like, really, that's all we're going to do? I'm like, can you do any more? Because I'm fucked.
You know, and it's like mentally you could probably do it, but at the same time, it's like
Yep.
we've all been there where you do a set and the pump gets better, you do another set, the pump gets better, and then you do another set and the pump doesn't get better.
Right.
So
Yes.
then it's like, and then some people are like, I'm going to do another set, and then the pump starts fading.
Yes.
And it's like, you're just digging yourself a deeper hole to recover from,
Yep.
you know, and if you don't recover from it, you're not going to grow.
Yes. Agreed.
So if you did the job, there's no point in overdoing the job.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
know, if your goal is to cook a steak, you're not turning it into a charcoal briquette.
Right.
You know, like no one wants that at all. No one wants a well done steak.
Right. Yep. I've always used that analogy with people like hammer and nail, right? If this is the wood, once that nail is flush with the wood, you can't hit it anymore. You're just beating the shit out of the board. Like,
Yeah.
just walk away. Like, again, I know that in this bodybuilding world, they'll probably hear me and you say, take sets to the end, go crazy, be hardcore or whatever. Hardcore is also being able to know when a muscle is done and walk away. Like, that's what I also will call lifting maturity. Like, I know
Yeah.
you and I've told this story before. Like, we were in Columbus. I'm like, bro, I don't even know a set of arms. Do you? And you're like, no, we're good. Let's do calves. Awesome. Like, from the outside looking in, like, oh God, they were weak today. Like they eliminated a whole set or exercise grouping. We didn't need it.
You know, and that comes from experience.
Yes. Yep.
You know, like when I first started lifting, like I talk about this all the time. When I first started training, I was training 15 times a week.
Right.
You know,
Yep.
2 days a week and then 3 times a day on Sunday.
Yeah.
Did I recover at all from that? No, but I learned what I couldn't recover from.
Yes. People ask me that all the time, like, Chris, how you know how too much is? You've been too much before.
Yeah.
And before is more than once. It's usually like a handful 10 times. Like, and you'll know because you wake up and you feel like you were run over by a truck. And it's like, oh
Yeah.
shit, like I'm tired, I'm sleepy, lethargic, my body hurts. I kind of feel like I have the flu a little bit. Okay, yeah. That means that you're overtrained. Now, the percent of the people who can probably achieve that, I don't know the answer. I know that I've definitely been there. I know you have definitely been there.
Yeah. Well, that's a fun one too, because people always speak of overtraining in terms of like volume too.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And in reality, like God, like the amount of weight you use also is a huge factor in this. Because like I don't believe you're going to get overtrained benching up, 135
Agreed.
because the amount of energy your brain has to output to your muscle
Mm,
is not wild.
no.
It's when the weights start getting aggressive, and that's where you really have that fine line. You know, you're not doing it. Overtraining doesn't come from just countless mindless reps. It comes from the shit what's terrible.
Yeah.
Like, and you can go there. It doesn't you can be a beginner and go there, but it isn't from doing more. It's from doing better.
Right. Yep. Yep. I think the next thing to kind of touch on with training is, in my mind, is with bodybuilding, you have to remember, I see so many young lifters looking for ways to make things easier so they can take their weight up. Slingshots, reverse bands, any type of advantage of a shoe. And I'm like, you have to remember when you're bodybuilding, your goal is muscle growth. We want to make the lift as hard as humanly possible. And then we want to make sure that our form is the same every time. So if we do those two things, we will always be in what I will consider like the sweet spot of training for bodybuilding. Like, if I was always trying to gain a mechanical advantage of, say, a dumbbell row, I could row the 180s for God knows if I had a gun to my head and hit 20. But would my back lats grow off of that? If it would, I'd be doing it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in this world of people, they either see like guys throwing weight around with inertia, or they see people like squeezing and pinkies and fucking rulers, and they don't know where to go. And we've had this conversation plenty of times on this podcast. The answer is somewhere in the middle of that shit, right? Like, be aggressive, but aggressive with intent.
Yeah.
Don't be.
Well, I always laugh at this people. Like, whenever someone tells me what, like, or shows me what they're squeezing us, they're squeezing during a top set.
Right.
Like, I have to like shake them and tell them to stop. Like, if
Right.
that worked, you'd already be big by now.
Yeah.
Obviously doesn't. The people who you see doing that who are big,
Yeah,
legitimately just have better genetics than you.
yes. Yeah.
They're growing in spite of their effort, not because of it.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
and like there's a. I'm not saying you shouldn't squeeze your muscle,
Right.
but you shouldn't be able to like in reality. If it's a top set of squats,
Right.
what should you be? The only thing you should be thinking about is going up and keeping your form tight.
Yep.
Like if you can actively think about squeezing your quads,
Right.
like props to you, but you can probably put 2 more plates on there.
Yep. I have never once thought about contracting my quads on a squat, leg press, or hack squat at a high end weight. Never, not once.
Yeah. Well, the fun thing is it just fucking happens. Like,
yeah.
Straightening your leg is the job of your quad.
Right.
Enough, all of those things make your quad straighten your leg. You
Yeah.
go from a bent leg to a straight leg. That's your quad's fucking job.
Yes.
It's getting work.
Yes. Yep. Because all I thought about was control the negative asshole, get deep, keep your chest up, stand up. It's simple as that.
Yeah.
And then when the shit gets hard, you think, how many more can I get? Okay, just keep going. Another one, another one, another one, again, another one, again. Like you can't possess the mental capacity, or at least I could never, to think about all those little intricacies that everyone thinks about. Like, because to me, when I'm doing my warm-ups, I'm thinking, all right, cool, knees out, hips loose, like all that, like those little coaching cues. By the time you get to the end, all I want to think about is how far can I go until I can't stand up.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting is because I have a post saved on my phone for when we finish here is I need to make a shirt out of this. It really pissed me off. I said in the post, I literally say, you're great at science, not at bodybuilding. And so many people need to get that fucking clue wrapped around their head. There's a lot of smart scientists out here. There aren't that many good bodybuilders. And those two things can or can't be mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
There's a handful of very smart scientists who are impressive physique wise. There are way more that look like a bag of dicks.
Yeah. Well, I can't tell you how many people I've met. Like shit, the guy who got me into bodybuilding, he trained back in the 70s. He was a personal trainer at a Gold's Gym.
Mm.
Never once did he count a macro.
Right. Right.
Never once did he count. Did he know how many grams of protein he was eating?
Right.
I kid you not. He did his preps. He would just start lowering carbs,
Right.
and then lowering fats, and then eating just fish.
Right.
And guess what? The man was peeled.
Right. The fat was off.
Like he didn't overcomplicate it at all. It was like, in fact, it was undercomplicated.
Right.
Like in the off season, he told me he always told me how awesome it was when McDonald's had oatmeal on the menu. He's like, I make my eggs at home and I go to run to McDonald's and get 2 of those oatmeal things.
Right.
And I'm like, that's interesting. He's like, yeah, it comes with fruit on top. He's like, it's fucking great.
Yep.
But yeah, like as I said, he made his protein at home because he knew he wasn't getting that at McDonald's.
Correct. Yep. I had a doctor do a seminar once for me at Gold's, and someone asked the question of what's the best way to burn body fat. You know what he said? Move more, eat less.
Yeah.
And the lady was like, what do you mean? He's like, I mean what I say. You move more and you eat less. And when that stops working, you move more and you eat less. And I'm like, that's a t-shirt. Like that's a bumper sticker. Like the concept is that's all we essentially do in bodybuilding to get shredded. We just eat a little less food, and then we up cardio a little bit, and then we eat a little less food, and then do a little bit of cardio, and then reach a point where it's like, oh, like we've really ran you pretty hard. Let's do a high carb day and not do any cardio. Well, guess what? The one thing that means state is like training. Here, we're here, always training hard.
Yeah, and that's actually the funny thing is because a lot of people too are under eating.
Yes.
They put their movements up here and their food's down here. And it's like we got to bring that up,
right?
Because otherwise your body's freaking the fuck out and doesn't know what to do.
Yep. Agreed.
And that's where you get, and then all of a sudden you start seeing progress because like those things now match, and now your body can be like, oh, we know what you want, instead of, oh, we're starving to death.
Yep. Agreed. All right. So before moving on to nutrition, let's just throw out some lifts that you and I both think are staples per body part. Since we're on legs, I think it's easy. Squats, leg press, leg curl, RDL, some kind
Yep.
of single leg movement. So you're looking at what? Lunge, split squat.
Yep.
You notice I didn't name leg extensions, even though we just talked about them.
Yeah. Yeah. That would definitely be my pick for legs.
Yeah. I mean, what would you say for back? Go for back.
Once again, probably deadlifts if you're not doing a RDL for legs.
Right. Yep.
Bent over row, cable row,
Yep.
lat pull down,
Yep.
an actual lat pull down if you're small.
Yes.
Like, get rid of the fucking cable, fucking this nonsense until you can pull a whole fucking lat pull down from here with good form.
Yep.
That might piss people off, but it actually drives me insane when I see 4 fucking pounds on a pull down and someone just sitting here and only squeezing in this. You know, it's like there is 0 point in trying to like you're trying to etch details in with a scalpel,
right,
where you need a sledgehammer.
Yep. Yep. I mean, I'll even go more basic than that. How about just do fucking pull-ups? Like,
yeah. Yeah.
Chris, I can't do pull-ups. Get on the assist machine till you can't, or a band. Hook a band around you. Like,
yeah.
I was actually laughing at. It's so funny that you talked on that. One of the guys, one of the gyms I trained back at, he came to me. He's like, I feel bad about myself, and I was like, why? And he said, you're doing single arm pull downs with what I do for double arm. I'm like, yeah, get stronger, bro. Like,
Yeah.
hey, just get fucking stronger. All right, so you did back, chest. This is fucking easy. Dumbbells and barbells. Literally, that's it.
Yeah.
You guys didn't say any flies. You could do dips too if you wanted, but I don't think most young guys can do dips for their chest. I don't think they're strong enough or have the muscle tissue to fill it.
Yeah.
So,
I would honestly throw the dips in the arm day.
correct.
If
yes.
you have the arm day, it gives you a little bit more frequency for chest.
Yes.
Agreed. And then also learning how to do those aspects of things where, you know, compound movements, what are just going to be in a good point. You get a good stretch, you get a contraction.
Yep.
Right. But it's also not, it's just basic,
Yep.
you know, like I've said that so many people's like, I've had that question before. I had a kid ask me at Butler, he's like, how do I target this part of my tricep? And I was like, can you do dips with a 45-pound plate attached to you? And he's like, no. I'm like, figure out how to do that and come back to me and tell me how much you feel that. You know, he actually did it. And he's like, oh, that worked.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, it's not some fucking twist of the pinky. You know, you're not missing out on, you know, it's not some subtle nuance. It's not a hack or trick. It's legitimately just learning how to use your body.
Yep. You know,
like if you were a piano player, you're not going to try to find a hack to, you know, like I have a new hack for how to spread my fingers wider so I can play the piano better. You're not going to go buy a new piano because you suck at playing the piano. You're going to practice it more.
Yeah, right. You know, the greatest example, if we're talking about triceps, go look at gymnasts who do ring work and who do like pommel horse. They have some of the most developed triceps on the planet. Why? Because they're always in that locked out position.
Yeah.
Funny how that works, right? Like, yeah. All right. So we're on arms. I'll roll through that. Biceps, I'm going to say easy bar, barbell, and dumbbell curls. Like for arms, skull crushers, dips, and some kind of push down to warm your elbow butt, maybe. Like, there. Done. Arms. What do we leave out? Shoulders. You want to hit that?
Side laterals, rear delts. You don't need any front raises if you do presses.
And do a shoulder press. Yeah. Easy. Yeah. Barbell or dumbbell. I'd even be fine with like a hammer strength if you feel safer in there. Like if you train by yourself and getting it into place. Because I realize that's a limiting factor for a lot of people. And I've yet to use the barbell like military press that I could unrack safely by myself that I felt good with. Like,
oh yeah, they don't make those machines like they're retarded. They're like, let's stick the bar 2 feet behind you. You can unrack it from here, right?
Yeah, you have to unrack it and then cross your head and then start going. yeah, dumb. Which is why, I mean, I'd even be fine there with the Smith machine, another option for a shoulder press variation.
Well, I really like the Smith machine just because at the top you can just push.
Yes.
Yep. You know, versus like you can't really do that with a barbell.
Agreed.
You kind of like lose tension as you go up.
Yeah.
Further past that, like past this point, here to here, you lose like some tension, but like you don't lose any on a shoulder press out of Smith.
Agreed. Early on in my bodybuilding, I saw Charles Glass. he would set the stoppers like here. So when you came down, you would sit that weight on the stopper, but keep tension in the shoulder and press up. I used to love those things.
Oh yeah,
When I
that's
did
actually
boulders.
it's so doing that with like any kind of press. Honestly, is probably one of my favorite.
Yes.
Just
Yep.
for learning that bottom part contraction.
Correct. Yes.
Learning how to actually explode
Yes.
without and while keeping your form tight,
Right. Yep.
while also being very safe. Like,
Yeah.
I
Yep.
mean, to go do that in a bench press with stoppers on the side,
Yeah.
fantastic motion.
Agreed. Agreed. Yep. All right. So we just gave you a whole training program. Now you just gotta go do it. We didn't touch on traps, barbell or dumbbell shrug. Simple.
If you need them,
Calves, standing or seated calf raises, and then abs, hang leg raises, and weighted crunches. Done. I just
yeah,
gave you the whole body. All right, nutrition. So that guy didn't tell me what his weight was. I'm gonna guess in the 170s. So let's say you're 170 to 200-ish. These will be I would say, would you agree 5 meals would probably, if you aren't eating 6 now, 5 will be a great place to start at?
yep,
I think so too. And that's 3 whole food meals, 2 shakes, if you have a small appetite.
yep,
If you have a good appetite, eat 5 whole food meals or do 4 whole food meals and a shake post lift. All 3 of those options are going to be incredible in my opinion for a starting bodybuilder. I would say shoot for 40 grams of protein per meal as your
easily,
mainstay. Yeah.
yep,
So you figure it's just under 6 ounces of cooked meat. Because 6 ounces of cooked meat is 42. So anywhere between 5 and 6 ounces, I'd be thrilled with. 1.5 scoops of protein powder. If you're going to use whey isolate, it's usually about the right measurement. So I would say that is the staple for absolutely everyone. Where carbs and fats come into play, obviously that depends on your metabolism and how you eat food and how your digestion works. But
yep.
what would you say for carbohydrates if you had to just spitball a general population number?
On rest days, I would probably match carbs with protein just from this kid's pictures. Where
Yes.
he's a like visible abs, striated lower back.
Yeah.
He's definitely, if he's eating 40 grams of protein, he's probably gonna get 40 grams of carbs per meal.
Yep.
So
Agreed.
that times 5,
Mhm.
what is that? But that's
200.
a little less than 300
Yeah.
for his rest day. And then on his training day, I would probably double that in 3 meals and keep everything else the same. So breakfast, pre and post, I'd double that. It'd be 80 grams of carbs.
Yep.
And then kind of I would probably just shoot for even, 8 grams of fat, 8 to 10 per meal both days.
Yep.
And then adjust from there. That'd be his base diet. And then
Yes.
depending on what happens.
Agreed. Right. And you just monitor your scale, monitor your look, and monitor your progression in the gym. Now, I know you and I, because we do that for a living, like it's going to come a lot easier. But I can tell you this, if my strength's going up, if I'm hungry for every meal and the scale's going up, I'm going to keep taking food this way
Mhm.
as a general pattern. Am I going to increase food every week? Absolutely not. But as a whole, like let's say for a month, you eat the exact meals you just said, your strength's going up, your performance is going up, your strength is going up, you're ravenously hungry. I would tick fat and carbs up and see what happens.
Yep.
If you, let's say, increase carbs by 100 each day and you increase fat by, say, from 8 grams to 12 grams or 8 to 10, 10 to 12, whatever, see how it does. If your digestion begins to feel bogged down, if your performance slows, you just got to ride that out until it gets back to the way you were feeling before you did the increase. Because
Yep.
obviously, as we talk about with training, like with nutrition, your body has to adapt to new levels of food too. So if you're comfortable eating that amount, you're like, this is easy, this is cake. Well, if you want to grow off of that, we got to take that north. Now, on the flip side, if you're gaining fat at a faster rate than you're gaining muscle, we have 2 options. You can either add cardio in, because for this guy, I would not have him in cardio at all for muscle gaining. You're gonna either add some cardio in, or you're gonna have to pull back food on either your off day or both days. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I would maybe have him just do a semi-active, like maybe a 20-minute walk total a day. So like a 5-minute walk after 4 meals.
right. Yeah.
Just to keep him moving, depending on what he does for a living. Because if he works in an office and he doesn't move, like if he gets 4,000 total steps a day,
Yeah.
we're definitely gonna have it. Like you said, cardio is probably gonna just be a matter of fact. But
Yeah.
if not, like minimum, just like a little bit of movement post meal, just to especially in off season, move with that diet, move that food around a little bit so
See,
you have the ability to eat more.
yeah, yes. See, I got lucky when I was going through all that. I was either in college or working as a trainer. So you figure I had
Yeah,
a ton of steps, walking
yeah,
to class, walking to the dining hall, walking to the gym, or walking all day with clients. Like when I was a trainer,
yeah,
the only time I sat down was to eat or use the restroom. Like, and outside of that, it was always on my feet, always moving. And
yeah. And then picking up plates, spot people.
correct. Yep. So again, like you said, you have to be really mindful of your of a how you look, also what you do for a living, and then just like what your daily activity is. Like if you come from a family or you have a girlfriend who always likes to take you on these long ass hikes, or you have a bunch of dogs you walk, 9 times out of 10, that's the only cardio you're gonna need.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you have to take a 20-minute dog walk a day, perfect. I wouldn't waste any other time, effort, energy on cardio. Um, because you don't need it. Um, let's see what else. What else? I think just outside of covering some just basic food choices. I mean, inevitably, I'm going to say bro foods, but not everyone knows what that means. For protein, meat, eggs, and whey isolate. For carbs, anything rice based. So you're thinking about cream of rice, rice, right? Honestly, Rice Krispies, if I'm being honest with that guy. Rice cakes, all great options. Potatoes,
Yep.
cream of rice. Yeah, fruit. I mean,
Yep.
you could even do rice pasta if you don't have a big appetite and you want something that's calorie dense, meaning a very small volume carries a big weight of carb. Um, I like rice pasta personally, but I always got burnt out on it, and I don't know. I don't know how you ever
I
feel.
just get sick of making it because it's like
Yeah.
the worst food ever to meal prep.
Yes. Yeah. Agreed.
Like it's okay, but like you're like it's never that great. Especially rice, it gets like the rice pasta gets like soggy. So
Yes.
like if you make it and you eat it at home, yeah, it's fantastic. But if you make
Correct.
it and you throw it in Tupperware and then you eat it 3 days later, it's just like mush.
Yes. Or it's hyper dry. Like
Yeah,
it's one of those two extremes.
yeah,
The great
yeah.
thing about rice is if you have older rice, you can always just squirt some water on it, put it in the microwave, and it'll refluff up. With pasta, it doesn't work that way. Um,
No. And that's why creamer rice is so nice. Like
yeah.
I used to just leave I still do, I mean, I just leave a bag of creamer rice because I bring a scale with me. But like if I need rice for a meal, you know, weigh out my 70 grams of rice, add water, throw in the microwave, it's done in 2 minutes.
Yep.
Versus like making rice in the office is a not a possibility.
Yep. Right.
Like
But
hell, I've made cream of rice at a gas station. Like just go in, the hot water spigot on their coffee maker,
oh yeah.
throw that in there, go get, and then throw it in the microwave for less time.
Yep.
And they don't give a shit. That one always makes me laugh. Like, what about the gas station people? It's like, go buy gas there for one, maybe,
Yep.
or buy a drink or something. And that's why that stuff is there.
Yep. I've literally made hot meals and oatmeal and cream of rice in a hotel with no microwave, and all I have is a coffee maker. So you just
Yeah,
boil the water, you set your Tupperware down in that boiling water, it heats your meal up decently well. And then on the flip side, for oats and cream of rice, you literally just take that water, pour it in, add your oats or cream of rice, put a lid on it, and just let it sit there for 5 to 10 minutes.
yeah,
Comes right to life. So yeah, those are all the carb sources. For fats, I mean, I know you and I are going to go with things like nuts, nut butter, olive oil, coconut oil, macadamia nut oil, whole eggs, steak, salmon. I mean, I don't think I left anything out there. I mean, avocado. I don't need avocado, but if you
yeah.
like it,
Avocado for me is like the fun one because like it goes back to the pasta thing.
right.
Like I think it's fantastic, but meal prepping it is terrible
Yeah, right. Yes,
because it always like turns fucking brown. You're like, what is this shit?
right. Yeah, because someone asked me one
And
time.
it doesn't. You cannot microwave it. If it's hot, it's garbage.
Yes, which is why I love avocado oil because I don't really like the
Yeah.
taste of avocado. And listen, if John would have said, Chris, you have to eat 8 ounces of avocado a day, I would have done it. I'm just
Oh yeah.
not a big deal.
Dude, if you asked me to snort bat shit pre-workout, I'd ask you if you wanted it from brown bats or bats from Africa. Like that wouldn't be a question; it would happen.
Mhm.
Like, would I like it? No.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really like fish until I get really hungry.
Yeah,
And even then, it's like at the end of the day, I would probably prefer chicken, turkey, or steak, or even egg whites, but
yeah,
I'll eat the fish and shut the fuck up. Like it is what it is. Vegetables, I think that's the only other thing we could really touch on. Like I know you don't eat them. In the off season, I eat very, very little vegetable.
Yeah.
It's just enough to make some of my food more palatable. Like I'll enjoy peppers and onions personally.
Yeah.
Um, outside of that, like I'm really probably not putting much of vegetables in absolutely anything. All the fiber, greens, macro, micronutrients that I'm gonna get that in either a green shake or fruit. So
Mhm.
fruit, I'd much
Yeah.
rather eat a banana than broccoli.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're definitely getting a lot higher nutrient profile, especially because you're not eating the broccoli raw. Because A, it's
Right.
not going to digest well, so it's going to be boiled or steamed.
Yep.
So I mean, like, you're not really getting tons of nutrient. You're getting fiber out of it, but like,
Yep.
if you're in the off season, you should be getting fiber from fucking carbs, anyways.
Agreed.
You got
Oats, potatoes. Yep.
oatmeal and rice taking care of your fiber needs. People freak out about that one. Like, and they're like, "Oh, you got to make sure you get enough fiber," and it's like, well, I don't eat Franken foods.
Right. Yeah.
Like my 80 grams of oatmeal in the morning probably has me handled for a couple hours.
Listen, at the end of the day, here's our secrets, right? Oats, potatoes with skin on them, and coffee. You won't have a problem with digestion in one singular bit. I can promise
No.
you. Like, so yeah, I think a lot of times like young kids or just people who need to gain muscle in general, I think like I gotta get a cup of broccoli or 100 grams of zucchini. Bro, if you have a small appetite, that is the number one fucking mistake. And I was guilty of it. Like you have to find foods that turn over fast in your stomach and don't take up a lot of space. That's the secret to growing is when you find the right food that you can eat every 2.5 hours, 3 hours, and get large amounts in, and then you're somewhat hungry again in 2.5 to 3 hours. That's when you're in a winning recipe. Like,
Mhm.
so nutrition. Anything else you think you can cover? Water intake. I mean, all day long, I think kind of a minimum would be 3 to 4 liters a day as a whole.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And also, I mean, like the biggest thing I see with people's water intake in the off season is they drink way too much during their meals and not enough between them.
yeah, right. Yep.
And all that does is dilute that meal and makes it harder to digest because it's now soup in your stomach instead of food. So you're slowing your digestion down for one.
Yeah.
And then you're not getting water in throughout the day. You're just counting it with your meals.
Yeah.
So if you swap that around and you have water between your meals, you're gonna digest and manage food better.
And you're gonna feel better because you're adequately
Yeah.
hydrated.
Yeah.
As opposed to like dehydration fluid, like just steady fluid. Like,
Yeah.
oh, that's why I have this big ass fucking thing that sits on my desk. When it's empty, I go take a piss and refill it. Yeah,
Right.
simple. Let's see. Supplements, I think, is the next thing. Like, at the end of the day, man, like, I don't count whey isolate as a supplement. That's a fucking chicken breast to me.
Yeah. It's
Um,
just food.
intra workout, I would say, is probably going to be in my mind the most essential. Because the easy way to get calories while you're training and helps with recovery. You won't be as sore. All the stuff about anabolism, I'm not gonna break all that shit down. But outside of that, like, are there any things that you would name that you think are in your top five of that you would have for a beginner?
If you're natural,
Yeah.
honestly, a good multivitamin
Yep.
and vitamin D.
Yep. Agreed.
And if you find a good multivitamin, sometimes it has vitamin D in it already.
Mhm.
So like you're probably fine there.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
And then as things progress, like you may need like if food's super high, maybe some digestive enzymes.
Yep.
Outside of that, like if you're natural, you really don't need much because your food in so many people don't will probably get mad at this, but your food is what determines your outcomes on a lot of things.
Yep.
Like, oh, why is your cholesterol shitty? Like maybe your food sucks.
Right. Yep.
It's
I think two others, if you don't have fish, meaning fatty fish in your diet, a good fish oil, and those things are cheap as shit.
yeah,
Like, go to Granite, use my code. And then glutamine for gut health. I know a
oh
lot of
yeah,
people believe that glutamine is for recovery and muscle soreness, but literally take it, it's cheap as shit. You can get a tub of glutamine for $20 or under
yeah,
if you buy it in bulk. And 5 to 10 grams a day, man, I'm telling you, wonders for your gut health. So, I mean, I don't think all those test boosters waste the fucking money. Pre-workouts, man, save your fucking money and get a coffee. Like, I just don't think any of that stuff is essential for the beginner to intermediate. I'm trying to think of all the things I put in my fucking mouth, like liver, kidneys, heart, all that shit that I take. At the beginning, I didn't need that. I didn't take it. I don't think you should waste your money on it. I'd rather you get a higher quality cut of beef and higher quality chicken than spending it on those health supplements at the beginning when you, unless you get your blood work done and something's already out of range. And if
Yeah.
though, I'm like, bodybuilding might not be the best choice for you.
Yeah, especially if you're not enhanced, you're not doing anything stupid.
Correct.
Like if your cholesterol is already, if you're active, healthy, and your cholesterol levels, your HDL is already fucking low,
Yeah.
and you're eating correctly, like your body has some problems here.
Yes.
Like that's probably not a good idea to throw stuff that's going to lower this even further into the mix.
Right.
However, like the lifestyle factor is it's really funny. Like most of the things we do in bodybuilding would affect our health. The way they get fixed is diet and exercise.
Correct.
So like that's the cornerstone, and then like the health supplements play a huge role. It drives me up a wall when those get neglected and people who are enhanced.
Yeah.
Because like what I see is all the time is people be like, well, I can't afford these health supplements, but I can afford my new Jordans every fucking month.
Yep.
And it's like, Jesus fucking Christ, like years off your life. Like just because like you're okay with your blood pressure being way out of range, but you're not okay with, spending money where it should be.
Yeah. Wanna. Yeah. That always blows my mind. Or they just bury their head in the sand and they have no clue where their health is.
Yeah.
I don't know why all these bodybuilders are, I'm going to use the cliche term, dropping like flies. Listen, don't be one of those idiots.
Yeah.
You always talk shit about. And I'm not saying that everyone who's died in bodybuilding is an idiot. That's not the case. But if that's how you're going to speak about them, but you're the same way with not getting your health markers checked, you don't take health supplements, you don't do cardio, you eat fucking bullshit, you have no right to throw shade at anyone.
Yeah.
I think just because you haven't had something yet that it's not brewing. Like, when's the last time you put a blood pressure cuff on? They probably don't even know what's a good range.
Right.
Yeah. And
Like
if you don't pay someone,
180 over 100, that sounds right.
right? Yeah.
Let me go get some high stim pre-workout in. That'll help.
Right. Yeah. All right. So supplements. Yeah. You know what? The one thing that he did, I told you when we started, I was like, this kid did not ask one singular gear question. And I was like, man, if you can high five someone through the internet, like I would have, I'd give that fucker a hug, to be honest. And I hate physical touch. So it's like, he was asking any and all things to get better and did not ask one drug question. And hopefully it wasn't from a spot of being naive, but I really respected that because 9 times out of 10, the questions you and I get aren't about ways to improve training or nutrition. It's on ways to take more drugs or.
Well, it's wild because like every time we do a Q&A, it's like how many IUs of growth does a pro bodybuilder use? What if I took more testosterone? What do you think about GHB or bolderone cypionate? Or what are your thoughts on, Trest or all those things? And it's like, you sit back and you look, it's like, how many days in a row has your diet been perfect? How many days in a row have you, skipped cardio and did Netflix instead?
Yep.
How many days in a row have you, not hit your sleep?
Yep.
It's like, let's start asking those questions and wondering instead, you know what I mean? Instead of wondering like, oh, what can I take? So it's what can you actually do better outside of those things? Because I mean, honestly, drugs do play a role in this, obviously, but they don't play a role. They're not 100% of the problem. Because if it was right, if I took drugs and immediately got massive, you think there would be more people who are big,
right? Yeah.
Like the testosterone in the United States, like multi-billion-dollar industry for men's health clinics. We're not even talking like people are getting stuff from China or whatever. Right. But I don't see, you go to a fucking Walmart and just tell me if you can get 10 people in there who are below 10% body fat, I'll give you $5.
Yep.
I'll Venmo you. Like, just reach out to me on Instagram. If you, figure that out, I'll Venmo you $5. You can find it. And then realize like there's a $30 billion industry on selling men's hormones to people.
Yep.
If the answer was just drugs, then you think there'd be more jack people.
The amount of clients I've had who either got on TRT or decided to add gear to the program and have said to me, man, I really thought I was going to work better than this. Like, yeah, bro. It's
Yeah.
not a magic wand like Cinderella that just gets waved and it's like, oh, I suddenly am over 250 with abs. Yeah, that doesn't work that way. Like, and it's, specifically, you get guys who are like so hyped up and they're nervous to take TRT. And I'm like, this just gets you back into normal playing field, right? This isn't giving you super physiological. Like they think they're going to be Ronnie Coleman in a month. And I'm like, I need you to damper those expectations, man. You're going to feel a fuckload better. You're going to lift a lot better, but it's not going to translate to all this muscle like you think it is because that's what the people on the internet say. Like you're on 100 mgs of testosterone every other week. Like that's just going to put you at baseline of a normal adult male. So yeah, we're not going to bang that drug drum anymore. But like the biggest thing there is if you're in this guy's position, I wouldn't even think about that. I would just try to get strong as freaking possible and see exactly how much good, clean food I could eat day in and day out without having to take a reset. Like you do that, I feel like good things happen. You hit those lifts we talked about, you take those handful of health supplements, and at the end of the day, like have fun.
Yeah.
Think about
Yeah.
it.
If you don't enjoy this, you're gonna hate it, especially because this isn't the kind of thing you do for 12 weeks and you're done.
No, right.
Like 120 weeks, you're not even close to being done.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
this is a bodybuilding is more than it's a longer than 5 year sport.
Yep.
If you want to be a good bodybuilder, you've been lifting weights for 10 years.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Most people don't realize that. It's like small incremental actions daily of, that little step in the right direction. You're like, okay, cool. We're eating chicken and rice instead of fucking quesadillas today.
Yep.
That times the next 15 years of that, of you making the harder choice,
Yes.
but the choice what is going to will this make me a better bodybuilder? Yes or no? And you making that little yes, that means that waking up, going to do your cardio, going to bed early, saying no to stupid shit what comes up, because it's not going to work for bodybuilding. Managing all the fatigue and training in your diet, making sure you actually go in and train hard. Those little yeses, the ones that add up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just, yeah, exactly. It's not 12 weeks of, oh, now I'm a bodybuilder. It's 12 years of that.
Yep. Oh, yeah. It's like anything that people take serious in life, right? Like a marathon runner becomes a marathon runner and stays there until they stop. Like you just don't wake up one day and say, you know what, I'm going to run 31 miles. And then tomorrow I'm like, I'm not going to run anymore.
Yeah.
It's an incremental process to get to 31. And then to stay there, you have to continue those behaviors. Like I have a buddy who I swear to God, every year he goes through like, I'm going to jokingly call it a midlife crisis where it's like, I'm going to get back into lifting and being a bodybuilder and looking crazy again. So he's like, Chris, tell me all the new stuff. Like, I'm like, it's all the same shit I told you last year and the year before that. And it's like, he'll get at it. He'll join a gym. He'll train for a month. He'll be like, how do you go through this all the time? I'm like, I've only been through that twice in 20 years and both were around injuries where I had to get reacclimated to everything. And he's like, huh. And every time it's like, if you just don't stop, you'll just continue to build slowly up. But then it's like life gets hard or kids this or work this. And it's like, at this point for you and I, it's like chaos could happen around us outside of an injury. We're still going to get in there and train. We're still going to eat our 6 meals. We're going to get our rest and we're going to do the best we can with the environment we're in. Like,
Yeah.
it's our,
it's a matter of just choosing your actions based on what outcomes you want and doing that. Like, it may not be cool, if I can't train arms tomorrow at the gym I want to go to, what can I do?
correct. Yep.
It's not I can't do that, so fuck everything.
Right.
Like, maybe I take another rest day and go train at a gym when I can.
Yep.
Or maybe figure out a workout to do somewhere else or do something that way. But it doesn't it's not, that those steps in the right direction are what matter. It's not the 0 or 100. It's not like if you can't be perfect, you can't. So many people go down that route. If you're not perfect, there's 0.
Right.
They're like, oh, I messed up on meal one, so the rest of the day is a fucking freak house.
Right.
Like fucking don't do that.
I've had people have been like, Chris, I only had 200 grams of rice made and I needed 300, so I ate a Snickers bar. Like, what the fuck? A Snickers bar doesn't replace that whole meal, bro. Like,
Yeah.
stop. Like,
I like to think about that logically. 100 grams of rice is roughly 24 grams of
24?
carbs.
Yeah.
So it'd be like I'm grabbing an apple
Yes.
or a banana from the
Double rice
fucking,
cakes.
like it's 100 grams of banana, about 30.
Yep. Yeah. It's I don't know how many people like that. It's that old Friends episode with Ross where he's screaming pivot and they're trying to get that couch up the stairs. Like,
Yeah.
that's all we do. Someone's on the Smith machine. I'm not gonna wait for 40 fucking minutes. I'm gonna go do a hammer strength.
Yeah.
Like someone's in the squat rack. Okay, cool, got it. Like, I'm gonna go leg press. Like, I'm gonna deadlift off the ground instead of doing rack pulls today. It's not a big deal. Someone has the attachment I need that Chris wrote on my pull downs. Go grab another fucking bar. Go do pull-ups that we just talked about. Like little pivots. I ran out of chicken. The amount of time I've eaten half chicken, half turkey, half steak, half shrimp, like half egg whites, half chicken. It's not a big deal. I've done like half
Yeah,
meat,
the
half
times
steak.
I've legitimately had a meal that was like 2 ounces of fish, 2 ounces of chicken, 2 ounces of ground turkey, and like a half a scoop of whey isolate. I was
Yes.
like, I really fucking need to go to the store now.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's like clean the fucking cabinets. That's bare, but yes. But that, that's again, that is the evolution of a bodybuilder, right? Like you just fucking figure it out. Because if your goal is 50 grams of protein or 60 or whatever, like you're gonna find it. Like you have it in your house somewhere. Just eat it. Like as opposed to just throwing their hands up, as you said, and well, Chris wrote 8 ounces of chicken and I only have 3. I'm just gonna not eat. Oh, fuck off. Like I'd rather have 3 ounces of chicken and a scoop and a half of whey isolate and call it a day. Is that perfect? No. But you best believe my ass is gonna be in a car going to the store after I eat that meal.
Yeah.
Simple as that. So yeah, I mean, any other things that you would say or that we missed or didn't talk about for beginner, intermediate, someone just looking to pack on muscle mass?
Honestly, if you sum that down as basic as possible, is have a high amount of effort for everything you do.
Yep.
Whether that's your meal prep, your sleep, your training, the mobility work you have to do, your posing.
Yep.
If you put in the same degree of effort into all those things as the things you love doing as the same things you hate doing.
Yep.
Like I don't like doing cardio. I get a good amount of results from it because I fucking do it.
Right.
I don't, that's why we did it. It wasn't because I like, oh yes, this is the best fucking 40 minutes of my life is walking on this incline. Nope.
Mm-hmm.
I do it for the results, but if you give the effort, half-assing that's not going to help you either.
Yep.
And like I said, if you give that full effort and you train like you're the biggest guy in the fucking gym, and at some point you'll become that dude.
Yes. Agreed. I will tell the story before I leave. The amount of people that gave me shit when I started bodybuilding in a gym and called me Mr. Intensity as a cut down are now drastically smaller and fatter than me.
Yeah.
It just took 20 years to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And as I've told you, I'm just fucking stupid enough to know that when I looked around the gym, I noticed people who were larger than me, but their effort was subpar. And I'm like, huh, the only way I'm gaining ground is to work harder than those assholes. And if I do that for enough years and then go home and eat the food I need to eat, I will eventually switch spots and they'll begin asking me for questions.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what fucking happened. And it's just willpower, determination, and belief in yourself. Because I know you can speak to this. Like there will be days where you question why you do this, and you'll be like, "Man, I see no progress." Because this isn't a thing where you work out this week and you look better next week. Gaining muscle is a process of years, and at the beginning, for me, I know it felt like I was just moving through quicksand, and it was like, "Fuck!" Like I saw more weight getting on the bar. I saw my ability to eat food went up. I knew that I was learning to connect to my body better, but there would be multiple times where I'm like, fuck, I'd worked so fucking hard, but where's the muscle? Where I would look around and I'm like, man, I saw this person gain more muscle than me. I go, this person gain more muscle than me. I don't understand what's going on. Like, will anything else grow as fast as my legs do? And really, it was just my quads. And then it's like, I just have to find ways to work harder and be smarter and continue and continue. So that's the lesson. It is not quick. It's not rewarding. It's not instant gratification. I can promise you that.
Yeah, no joke. It's a matter of just doing the hard shit and then assessing where you're at and figuring out ways to do that hard shit better.
Yes.
You
Yep.
know, not easier, better.
Correct. Yeah. Agreed. All right. We're in on that. That was perfect. Until next time, Chris, Dave, we are done.